Hi, I'm Genevieve Ramos, and this is how I create.
Welcome to This Is How We Create, a show that digs deeper into the creative life of contemporary artists of color. Discover what feeds their creativity and how they found or are finding their artistic voice. Through these intimate and candid conversations, you'll gain insights into the lives of creative professionals of color that are hard to find anywhere else. Welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. I am so pleased to have Genevieve Ramos on the show. Genevieve Ramos is an American painter and a disability advocate. Her visual works present in a pop culture aesthetic by vibrant acrylic colors on canvas. Conceptually, she focuses on feminism and disability, aiming to uplift voices in her communities. She is a member of the Pinturas Mexicanas collective, founded in Chicago, and most recently, an access consultant of Agitator Artists Collectives and Gallery in Logan Square, Chicago. Other acknowledgments include an artist in residence with DCAL, Disability Culture Activism Lab in 2021, 3 Arts Bodies of Work Fellowship in Chicago. She also earned a bachelor's degree from Northeastern Illinois University in Women's, Gender, and Sexuality Studies in 2021. She will receive her certificate in painting from the School of Art Institute this very year. Welcome to the show, Genevieve.
Hi, Martine. Thank you so much.
Genevieve, can you share with us what your childhood was like, especially in terms of exposure to art? Were there any pivotal moments or figures that might have introduced you to the art world?
Yes, I grew up with too much love. My mother is immigrant from Mexico, and she's such an artist herself. She creates flower arrangements, Mexican paper flowers, and pinatas, and she was heavily involved in the church, leading workshops and teaching people in the church her crafts. And of course, I always admired and adored her. And myself, I was had an insatiable need to express. My family would describe me as a butterfly. I was always dancing, moving, and curious about everything. And my mom and my dad really encouraged playing and creativity. And my father is also a drummer, so I grew up on classic rock, listening to all those greatest hits constantly. So, a very fun childhood.
That does sound like a really fun childhood. Oh my gosh, classic rock and your mom being involved in her church as well as creating piñatas. I can only imagine what your birthdays were like. Were there one specific, like, did she create a new piñata for each of your birthdays?
Yes, yes, celebrations were such a huge thing in my childhood. I had so many cousins, so many family friends, so many aunties that were my mom's friends. So it was celebration and food and music and art and dance was a every weekend thing. Breaking the pinata, grabbing the candy, and then dancing all night with the sugar. Very fun. And everyone in the family are huge storytellers. So I loved listening to other stories everyone had to tell. And my mom's life in Mexico and her achievements and her tragedies, and even about my grandmother, spending time with family, always. Family's huge. And community. That's my first experience engaging with community and the love. And that's what really informs my work today.
You know, as you were chatting, I couldn't help but draw parallels from your childhood to mine, because when I was little, I just remember all the parties that my aunts and uncles threw, lots of people dancing, being happy, all the colors of the dresses that the women would wear. And the other thing, too, that has had a huge influence in my life is the storytelling aspect of sitting around at night before going to bed and having someone in the family tell stories. I just remember those memories as well. So Genevieve, I would love for you to tell me about if there are any specific events or experiences that kind of indicated to you that you could become a painter.
Yes, so it's quite the story I'm going to tell. So when I was 20 years old, when I was in high school, I was really into creative writing and into psychology and social work. I really enjoyed helping people, especially children. And I loved writing and doodling and dancing and being loud. And then when I was 20 years old, I was in a really serious car accident. And I broke my spine. And I had a brain injury, and I was in a coma for 2 weeks. And then when I woke up, I couldn't move at all. And my mom was there every day, and she would put flowers in my hair. She would make flowers, and she would always decorate me and just really do me up. And so I had never painted before. I had always doodled. I've always had an artist spirit. But when my accident happened, I lost my abilities in the accident. I couldn't speak for a whole year. I was in a wheelchair, and they offered me art therapy. So my rehab, I was in the hospital for 3 months. And the first session of art therapy, I remember painting a night sky, similar to Van Gogh's night sky. And the art therapist asked me why I was painting this. Like in that missing night. I've been in the hospital so long, I only knew the fluorescent lights. And I painted stars. And the glow of the moon and dark blue ocean. My family saw how captivated I was with painting. That same day, my Aunt Debbie, I believe, she went out and bought me so much art supplies. And I slept in the studio in the hospital room. And I would paint constantly, and I would give everyone the paintings. And it was just, yeah, the accident was a blessing in disguise. And the other important part, my mother, her father was also a painter, and he used to study and adored Diego Rivera. And I had one of his paintings that he copied. I copied the Rivera that my grandfather painted. And my mom was like, Mija, you don't really color? And I'm like, I don't know how to just like do it me feel. My father loved Tio Rivera and Opera Carlo. And the other village is like, you are Frida. They do it me Frida. And yeah, I didn't know about Frida, but I was so, in one more whole life changes. I could no longer speak how I used to, or walk or move how I did. And I felt really alone, and knowing who Frida was really gave me companionship and inspiration that I had so much in common with this amazing artist, woman activist in Mexico.
Oh gosh, I'm so glad that you've come on the podcast, because I really, once I found your work through Three Arts, I really loved it, but there was not much on you. I was just trying to find who is Genevieve, and I'm so pleased that you were okay to come on here to share your story, to share about the accident, as well as how you came to start painting and started thinking about creativity in a different way than how you experienced it as a young girl. Can you talk to me about, I guess, the process of you being more like Frida in terms of learning to paint and learning that craft? How has that been for you?
Yes, so similar to Frida, I was drawn to painting myself. And at first I would paint portraits without a mouth, because I had been connected to a voice stand. In the beginning of my artistry, I was mostly self-taught, or I was using YouTube and Pinterest, and just follow and copy art from other artists, and I was practice. And I was a young adult, and I went through a dramatic, changing life experience. So I spent a lot of time experimenting, asking questions, trying different things. I was just use my intuition and try out the avenues. I would watch how my mom creates. She would create flowers out of a garbage bag. And I would just take whatever I had and play. Experiment and use YouTube for more instruction, or ask friends, or just study other arts. And I began to develop my own style, and I've always been drawn to my femininity. So my style was always woman-centered, with bright colors.
So, Genevieve, you mentioned how you didn't speak for a year after the accident. And so when you started to be introduced to Frida and to Diego's work, and your aunt bought you all of these painting materials, were you speaking at that time?
No, I was using an iPad.
You were using an iPad to communicate?
Yeah, text and speak, and a dry erase board. I think that's why painting was so natural, because after my accident, I was always communicating through a dry erase board and writing. And I remember first, no one could read my writing, so no one knew what I was saying. So I would write and write, and my fine motor skills been developed and communicating, and even the methodical steps of creating were molded in that experience of not speaking.
Can you tell me a little bit about your process now? I know that you often receive commissions, but you also create for yourself. What is your process when you do receive a commission? Can you walk us through that?
Well, I discuss what the client, what they're looking for, and I would ask for reference photo. I primarily work off observation, representation, and photos. Yeah, I tend, and I've developed my practice. I work on little mock-ups. I will share with the client and see if they like it. Or other clients ask me to recreate a pain that I previously done. And that's the easiest. But I enjoy the challenge of trying to portray what the client has in mind. Even if it's not a portrait, if it's a scenery, something. And I always remind them that my style is dreamy and surreal. And they want a landscape of being kind of a landscape out of a dream.
Well, this is the perfect segue to talk more about surrealism. And because, I mean, obviously, when you're creating work for yourself and as you are understanding your voice, what is that process, from having an idea or a dream and to then putting it down, sketching it out to painting it? What does that look like?
Yeah, everything starts in our imagination, right? I have, especially at night, I have like visions in my head and ideas, and I write them down. And sometimes it's very methodical and specific. I'll be like, oh, I'll use this brush and this medium and make this texture. And sometimes it's more of a broad idea. Like, this is the picture I'm gonna reference, and I'm gonna draw it out. And then once I have my paints, we'll just see what happens. So it varies. I could sometimes I'm methodical, and sometimes it's spontaneous, led by my intuition. But I mean, I've made bad art, but that's a part of the process.
Have you heard about this quote that Ira Glass is very famous for saying? Essentially, he talks about how when, as a creative, there is a gap that exists between the skill that you have and the vision that you have for yourself, and it takes a long time for of making work that isn't living up to whatever standard you have until you can make work and you can understand how to make the work that's always been in your dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always this ideal vision in our imagination. And it just keep working until it works out. Yeah, I argue with the quote. And they get up is where we learn and where we grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I always research and study as much as I imagine and experiment.
There's this artist that we had on the podcast. Her name is Katrina Andre. And I was trying to think about, okay, so for this season, how do we figure out which artists are going first and which artists are going next? And it's always quite interesting to have different expertise not follow each other and to really kind of weave it in a way that makes sense in itself for a season. And she was talking about her work and how she creates and her process. And it's really interesting. And I can't wait for you to listen to that episode and to learn more about her. Because as you were chatting, I was thinking, gosh, this is what she does too. She talks about how she always has a notebook with her where she's keeping track of her ideas. And she does a lot of research, as you mentioned as well. And she says that she even keeps it on her bedside table because she never knows when an idea will come in.
Yeah, I use my notes on my phone.
Oh, you have it on your phone. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I also have a journal that's putting images and ideas. But you never know when something kind of pop up.
You're very involved with in the disability community here in Chicago. And you mentioned that activism and advocacy is really important for you. Are there many or major sources of influence and inspiration that you have in this dual role that you have as an artist as well as an activist?
When I was a preteen, I began volunteering with my mom. She used to work in special ed. So she taught me how to be in community with children with disabilities. And then years later, when I became disabled, I felt jarred by how some people treat people with disabilities. And knowing what the better ways we can give equity to those with disabilities. And I felt passionate, but even though I was physically and mentally disabled, I was able to understand what was going on. I lived in a home after my accident, and there were people with cognitive disabilities, and I understood that microaggressions being made against them by nurses and PTs. And a nurse even said, if the boys had ears, there would be yours. And I felt it's my need to advocate through learning to advocate for myself as a disabled person. I felt that I have a platform with my art, a voice that speaks volumes, that can capture so much attention. And I want to use that as a catalyst of understanding of the disabilities and proper positive representation to show that disability is a generative and positive aspect of life. And yeah, I found I really do feel it's my duty because as a disabled person, when they're out in the community, you always have to explain to people what your accommodations are. Because that kind of information isn't publicly announced because people with disabilities, especially people of color with disabilities, have at the bottom of the totem hole and try to come up is hard. So I feel like the purpose of life is to help each other through it. And I have a talent with art and making connections with my community. So maybe I was influenced by my upbringing, my experience early on, and the love I have for everyone that I meet, and the care I want to see in communities. Yeah, and I just, that's, yeah, and, yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy to be in this place.
I'm so happy that you are there to be a voice for those who often are underrepresented. So I'm so pleased that you're doing this job and doing this work. And it also sounds as if it's a bit of a calling for you, that you said you feel chosen, and you choose it as well. So it sounds like a calling.
Thank you. With the creativity.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really interesting the way that we view the world, and how people think that the world should be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And we always forget it's the differences that are the most important thing in life, right?
Yeah.
Because if everyone were the same, can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine having a painting and you had one color to create a painting of someone? I mean,
so boring.
Yeah, agreed. So it sounds like you're juggling quite a few balls. You're still in school, correct?
I finished the classes.
Okay.
For my certificate, I just need to go to my exit interview for the review my portfolio.
Are you excited?
Yes, I have to organize, putting in documents. I'm excited.
So tell us about your portfolio. What is your portfolio about? Describe it to us.
So the portfolio on my website is it varies. I have like commissions, so there's no one theme. But my portfolio has just been developing. It's very refined. A lot of portraits, a lot more redefined work, more fine art from what I learned at school. I've learned a lot, and I have some oil paintings in my portfolio, which I had fun doing. Oil paints a new medium that I want to get into, but it's a lot of work with oil painting to set up and clean up, but the colors are just way more vibrant. Shopping for paints is so fun because in school I learned like the pigments all come from one place. But if you want oil, you buy an oil medium to make the payment. If you want acrylic, that's another medium to make. So the pigments are captivating, and I really see so much dynamic growing in my work today. But before, I haven't put my portfolio together. It's challenging because my work is really going in this direction. I'm very surprised by it. I mean, I feel like I was going to go for realistic, but then I end up playing too much, and it becomes surreal.
So do you find that surreal is the natural place that you tend to go towards without you knowing it?
Yes. Yeah, because then when I was studying for my painting certificate, and the teachers would assign still lives, of course. When I would come home, I would be there, oh man, it's so boring. Let me add a magenta. Let me make the still life glow. You know, it's just my intuition wants dreamy visuals.
So excited for you. I'm excited to see where this will take you, and what your intuition will continue to say to you and where it will take you. Have you read the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert?
No, but I should.
So the magic of it is about ideas and about intuition, and she posits the concept that ideas come to us, and if we don't nurture them, if we don't continue to add to the fire, that it will leave us. It will go to someone else. And she gives several examples of ideas that she's had and that she hasn't really paid attention to and kept putting it off. That idea went to someone else, and then somebody executed on that idea. And I've always found that to be a very interesting concept, because I think I've seen it where I've had an idea, or I've heard of people having an idea, and then all of a sudden someone else would do something very, very similar. And it also seems as if there's intuition and there are ideas all over waiting to become something real.
What it all could to me, so much information in me, and even though it's not conscious, the colors we see, the sky, the art we admire, the TV series we watch over and over again is informing our imagination. I really believe in that.
At this point, one of the things I would love to ask you, Genevieve, is about either the worst piece of advice that you've received thus far in your life, or the best piece of advice that you've received thus far in your life. Can you share one with us?
I mean, I don't have specifics. More like generally the notions that following a career as an artist means to be starving. That there is no real money in it. And I'm like, fine, I'm in it for the money. I'm in it for community. I'm in it because this is what feeds my soul. The money will come. I will get fat. I will go hungry. And I mean, when people are like, oh, you're an artist, or my mom, she's traditional, and many and many ideas. And she was very like, what are you majoring in women and gender studies? Like, what do you do with it? Why don't you do something where you can go into professions? And I'm like, well, I'm disabled. And we're going into professions isn't easy, so I want to shake shit up. I want to, like, perpetuate that we have equity in society. Like, I don't need to, like, major in marketing and do something on my computer all day. I want to be with people, with my culture. And the best advice is just the people around me that always cheer me on, that tell me that I have no limitations that are positive with me, no naysayers.
Oh, Genevieve, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so much fun to hear about your life and also very inspirational to hear about the work that you do. I can't wait to see your star continue to rise, and hopefully you'll come back on the show to share more about what you've been doing in the future.
Thank you so much. I need to be here.